Karen says, stop cheating to reserve the best parking space in front of the building. By user Ghost DLS, a current neighbor of mine complained that my roommate and I park in the same parking spot, which is right next to the walkway up to the apartment building. Both of us ride motorcycle, and both motorcycles belong to me, but my roommate rides one to get to work. She accused me of using my second bike to get a de facto reserved parking spot when nobody in the complex has one, and said that what I'm doing is not fair and it's cheating. I said, okay, I'll stop parking both my bikes in one spot. She seemed satisfied with that and left. An hour later, I had all 7 of my motorcycles, 5 of them from inside the garage I rent. But it's halfway across the apartment complex, sitting in front of the apartment building, taking up every prime parking space in front of the walkway to my hall in the building. She went straight to the management to complain. The management came out and knocked on my door. We can't have you using up every parking space. Let me guess. Karen complained. Yes. Yeah, she told me I'm not allowed to have 2 bikes in one parking space to reserve a space. I'm not doing it to reserve a space. Both my roommate and I ride both of the bikes we park in that one space. All the bikes belong to me, but I gave the keys to one of them to my roommate to ride for, commuting to work. The other one is my bike for going wherever I need. We park both in one spot to be nice and conserve parking spaces so other people have somewhere to park. I was just showing Karen what would happen if I'm only allowed 1 bike per parking space. The other 5 bikes are generally in another parking space in my garage where I keep the bikes that don't ride frequently. The apartment manager said, I understand. You made your point, and I'll talk to her. Please put the other 5 bikes back in the garage. No problem, I said. It's been a few weeks. Haven't heard from Karen? Edit. Since so many people are inventing details not in the story, assuming those details are true, and then getting upset over what they imagined, let me clarify something. This happened at 1 in the afternoon on a day both my roommate and I had off. Most people are away at work during this time. What's more, with the exact topography of the apartment complex, there are only 2 apartments per walkway without going upstairs on my side of the building, but 4 on the other sides because it's up a level and the building is built into a hill. What this means is that most people park on the other side of the building, leaving most of the parking spots in front of my building free and open except for very late at night. How the heck do you think I took up the 7 closest spots with all 7 bikes if the parking lot was full of people trying to park? Think about it for just a second before you assume details that aren't spoken just because you want something to be upset over. Both bikes are away from the apartment complex at the same time for a minimum of 4 hours a day. We didn't engineering the situation where my roommate gets home between 3 to 4 in the afternoon and thus gets first pick of the parking spots. We also could both be driving cars instead of riding bikes. Then there'd be 2 spots taken up instead of 1. I could just choose not to rent a garage and park all 7 out there, forcing people into overflow parking, but I don't. Also, the garage is beyond the overflow parking. It's not fair to expect me to always park in the garage and walk even further because you don't want to park next to my bikes and have all of 2 extra feet to walk to reach the concrete walkway to the building. Delete it.
You sure? Okay. By user Defiant, Lion 8183.
So I'm a fiend for Excel spreadsheets. Absolutely love them, and even bought an extra wide monitor for home so I can see them in all their glory. My boss keeps telling me that she's an advanced Excel user. She can run macros. She can do pivot tables. She knows formulas. Not once have I seen her create or manipulate a spreadsheet in the 6 months I've worked for her. So I had a template on our team's chat that we used every week. It was automated to within an inch of its life to tell us about the company's health. We've been using it for the last 4 months after I was given approval by the boss to make it live. Gave her a tutorial and everything. This was for the admins to all see it, and I'd only need to update the raw data once a week instead of send it manually to whoever wanted it on a given day, up to 4 times a day usually. It took out about 6 years work a week having it set up like that. Well, the boss told me to take it down because a different department who hadn't seen it was worried about personal data when one of the admins told them about it. There isn't anything like that in there. And anything that isn't open access is password hidden anyway. Our team has to be formally requested to add a new member to our team's chat. The spreadsheet is password protected, the tabs are password protected, and the whole company is locked down hard anyway. So boss orders me to take it down and delete it, run a fresh one for anyone who wants it. So I explained there wasn't anything in it that was personal or private data, but got told nope, delete it. Tried to explain we use it amongst the admins every day and it has all these built-in features. Tables, etc. So I did. Fallout, read on. Q today, boss says to me her big boss meeting is presenting figures to the executives tomorrow. She starts quoting figures that are wildly out from the true numbers. I question where they came from, and she shows me a Frankenstein report that is saying the exact opposite of what she thought, run by someone not even in our department. I tell her the accurate grand total and show her how I got there with a simple table and some screenshots I had of the original shared spreadsheet.
She asks for access and I tell her it's been deleted.
I explain why and even show the meeting notes where she had approved its use after viewing it. She denies any knowledge of it, but wants it back. I said it would take me 2-3 days to make it again due to my workload increases. I saved a copy of the template, but no way am I telling her that. This will give me breathing room to get the backlog out of my queue while she thinks I'm working on it. Let her sweat through that executive meeting, knowing every figure is wrong. No one's saving her ass in this team anymore. Deny the flexibility you promised. Fine. Cover my shifts and still have to pay me. By user, Glittering Growth 246. I was in a supervisory role as a charge nurse. I'd worked in this position for about 3 years. I had great reviews and earned consistent raises and performance bonuses. I approached my managers and requested that they agree to a flexible schedule if I worked on my master's degree. I wasn't asking for time off, I just wanted them to adjust my schedule when it came time for my practical rotations. They agreed as they wouldn't be losing any productivity and would be gaining a nurse practitioner for the system. About a year I started the program, it became apparent I was going to need to divorce my wife. We'd been married for many years. It was quite a blow. I called the Employee Assistance Program and got some therapy that was very helpful. My managers also suggested I apply for FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, leave due to their concern for my mental health. I was very grateful. I'd been working for the system for a number of years and had many hours of TTO, paid time off, saved up. But I figured the FMLA leave would be a smart thing to be approved for in case court times were scheduled when I was working. I was approved for up to 40 hours per week for a year. About a year into my master's program, it became necessary for me to step down from my role as a charge and take a staff nurse position. My main manager was livid. She took it very personally and stopped talking to me and greeting me. I was very hurt initially. As my practical rotations were about to start, I reminded my managers of their promise to be flexible with my schedule. They denied my requests for flexibility and began to schedule me almost entirely for the times I would request off. At first, I was frustrated and very hurt that they did this. But I remembered that I was approved for FMLA leave. FMLA is a special form of leave and cannot be denied. As my managers were not keeping their promises, it was with great satisfaction I began to call off every morning I needed to for my rotations. I didn't give them any advance notice because I was not required to. It was with even greater satisfaction I learned my managers began to have to cover my shifts themselves on occasion. As I had 2 hours saved up, I still got paid as well. I finished all of my rotations in this manner and took a job at a different system after I graduated. I worked at the new system for a few years before I was hired back at my old system as a provider. I loved seeing the look on my old manager's face when I took my first shift at her hospital as a provider and not under her chain of command. Doctor, don't keep your promise of a flexible schedule. Fine. You'll pay me anyway and have to cover some of my shifts yourself because I was approved for FMLA at your own recommendation. Edit. 4. Don't tell you where you can't walk. Okay. By user Drawable and Self. Happened this morning when walking my dog at the municipal park. It has a skate park, playground, tennis club, softball fields, and to note, a disc golf course. With disc golf, some of the holes tee off and end near the footpaths that take you around the park. While there are signs in the general area that serve as a warning, people are usually aware of the disc golfers. Anyways, I'm walking my dog and I see a group of golfers playing through and they're throwing at a hole. That cage thingy, that's about 20 feet from the path. I stop just in case anyone overthrows. Also, it's fun to watch. I'm standing there and some grumpy old man is walking from the pickleball courts at the tennis club to the parking lot. He has to walk up the path that I stopped at. I try to tell him, sir, you might want to hold on. There's a group of... He immediately cuts me off with, out of my way. Don't tell me where I can walk. And trudges through without looking at his surroundings. I just look at him as one of the discs sails long and connects with the side of his face and clocks him off his feet onto the wet grass. I see the coast is clear now and make my way to the parking lot. He's dazed and now angry and yells at me, why didn't you warn me? I looked at him and replied, You told me not to tell you where to walk." Then proceeded on my way as he tried to get up and get his bearings while still cursing at me because all of that was me fault, apparently. Property management tells me not to fix anything, okay? By user Jinx was 75. Back in the 2008 housing crisis, I did some work on the side for a customer's computer system. We got it talking, and he had a cheap one-dorm duplex for rent that was too good to be true. It was a detached garage converted to a one-bedroom little apartment, and it was as plain and basic as they come. The actual house was being rented out, and he was charging the full amount price for the area, which was high. So the little garage conversation was pure profit for the landlord. I signed a lease for a fixed price that was almost half of what the going rate was for one-bedroom apartments in the area. It was no frills, plain as can be, with the cheapest appliances and amenities possible. Light fixtures from the early 80s. Cheapest faucets and countertops money could buy. You get the visual. The elderly landlord and I had an arrangement. I could fix it up so long as I could keep the rent low, and he would allow me to pay for the remaining balance on upgrades when things broke. Years go by, and I'm still in this one-dorm garage conversation and making progress on updating the features. Kitchen faucet is gone. New fancy sprayer head faucet with a bar-style glass cleaner installed. Old toilet replaced with a water-saving tank and bidet installed. 80s lights are gone. LED smart home fixtures installed. Around 7-8 years go by, and my rent is still half of the normal going rate for the area, and my landlord is happy with our arrangement. Sadly, he has a heart attack and surgery saves his life. He is no longer able to maintain his active lifestyle and hands the reins of being a landlord to a property management company. This company is as shady and money-hungry as they come. They get a percentage of the monthly rent for their role in taking over the landlord's duties. They immediately hate me and my rental agreement from the start. The month they take over, my rent goes up the maximum limit of 10, plus 5 the cost of living increase for 1 year. I'm not happy with this, as this is a significant bump in my costs. I suck it up, but as a silent protest, I stopped making upgrades to the house that first year. 12 months later exactly, I get a notification that my rent will increase another 10 plus 5 cost of living increase. This is yet another blow to my finances. But I can't really complain, as my rent is still well below the average cost for the area. For another 12 months and another 10 plus 5 cost of living, followed by another the following year. This whole time I had been saving a good portion of my paychecks as a down payment for a house. But these rent hikes were hurting my ability to set aside money for this purpose. My landlord was not happy with the property management company he hired, but couldn't get out of his contract because they were doing maintenance and facility repairs like clockwork. COVID hits, and I'd been in this place for 12 years by this point. My rent was still under the average for the area, but not by much. Seeing as this was now just a crappy one-bedroom apartment, I was looking for houses to buy to get me out of this rent gouging arrangement I was in. Right at the peak of the COVID scare in 2020, a pipe burst in the kitchen and floods the floors, ruining the crappy cabinets, the carpets, and the furniture I had nearby. I had renter's insurance that covered most of the cost to what I had lost. Not the nicest furniture, but my couch was a total loss. My desk, entertainment center, and my speaker were severely damaged. In comes property management to assess the repairs and gut out the damaged wood and carpets. I offer to pay for the upgraded wood and countertops, as well as request hardwood floors. Nope, they deny my requests. I offer to do the work myself, as I'm fairly handy. Again, denied with an actual written letter stating and not to do any work or maintenance on the apartment. I contact my landlord, who has his hands tied because this was the arrangement we had. I'm at a loss of what to do because this property management company is not setting me up with a temporary place to live, doing all the work while I'm working from home to watch my possession. There's a literal door-sized hole in my wall as they spend 2 weeks fixing all the damage. They throw out my upgraded faucet, which was undamaged and worked perfectly fine. The upgraded sink, the light fixtures, the tile work I had done, the bathroom faucet, which wasn't even part of the floor damage. They then removed an outlet, originally part of the apartment, to save on costs. I was pissed at them and complained via letters, via phone calls, and talking to the maintenance supervisor. It took 2 full months to do all the repairs, and at the end, they sent me a notice that my rent was going up due to some loophole in the neglect the apartment was in and not reported. I was done with this bullshit, and I pooled my resources, called in all the favors I could, and found the house I wanted. I gave 30-day notice to leave at the end of my lease, along with an invoice of all the repairs I made to the apartment over the 12 years I was there. I attached a copy of my original lease agreement, a copy of all photos I took of before and after repairs I made, a bill of the costs, and a request of a refund of the past 6 months of additional rent hike due to neglect, like they stated in the letter. I had a running tally of with all the receipts, work performed, and the cost of not being allowed to live in motel during the work being performed to over $9,700. At the same time, I submitted all this to the courts as I knew they would contest all of it. My landlord was on my side during the court hearing. Giving testimony, he in fact allowed me in the rental lease agreement that I could do my own repairs. I won within 4 hours and awarded $4,700. The judge removed all billable hours I included. The judge was harsh to the lawyer for the property management, saying his client must obey the law and put a tenant up for housing during construction. Nearly 4 years later, I finally got my lump sum, including penalties and late fees, which totaled up to $7,500. Sadly, my old landlord passed away and his properties passed to his son, who immediately fired the property management company sometime early last year.